Hey guys, I'm Dorkk. This is just another video for my Druid UI. I've already made one before. If you've seen it, it's pretty much the same UI, slight adjustments. Uh, Big thing to note, I guess, would be I made a little thing here, which if you also happen to watch my most recent Paladin one, it's kind of what I've been trying to change in all of my tanks, where I'm just adding this little bit of bar above my player health frame and below where all my trinkets and procs and stuff generally go. It's usually kind of like defensive cooldown stuff with something. Sometimes it's a little bit of an offensive type of thing. Like I have Lunar Beam in here, but I consider that to be a little bit of both, where it's some healing, but it's also a major like AoE damage cooldown. Same thing with like my Demon Hunter. I have like Fell Devastation there, which is a lot of healing, but it's also a pretty AoE offensive cooldown, depending on how you want to use it. But I put it there because I felt like it fit better there than in the lower bar. The other thing that I would say is important with my Elvui is for a while I had not been using the enemy frames to show debuffs at all, but I put those back in, and that way for all my tunes, their dots and debuffs and shit will now show on targets. So if you use my Elvui profile and you missed that or wanted that, it's now in. I also made this little group for basically just your cooldowns for the most part, um, defensively at least. I haven't been a huge fan of it. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue to use it, but if you happen to like it, uh, I'll put the strings for it in the description like everything else, and you can feel free to use it. Um, and then the other thing is I added a lot of trinkets into my trinkets and proc group. Where we have there's Umbrella of Fury, there's the Ursoc Blood Frenzy Trinket, Living Carapace for Scorpion or whatever, Fang of Tichondrius, the Nightmare Echo, Infernal Contract from Gul'dan, Nightwell Trinket, which I don't remember if that's from, I think that's from Archway. So there's a lot of trinkets in there. They're pretty easy to, like if what you're using isn't in here, it's pretty easy to take one of these and just turn it into whatever trinket you have. For the most part, most trinkets are just simple, like it's a proc, which you could use these two. Get this out of the way. You can use these two if it's like a proc-based one for the Blood Frenzy. One's just a grayed out icon when you don't have the buff, but you can just choose an icon by searching what the buff's called in here. And then this is just setting the trigger to be what the buff is. It's pretty easy. If it's a non-use, you can just set what the buff name is in here. And then just make sure you set the cooldown progress to whatever the trinket name is. The exoskeleton and the Gul'dan trinkets might have a little extra actually attached to them because it has formatting in a custom string, because the shield that they generate is such a large number that if I didn't format it, it would kind of take up a lot more space than I'd like it to. So be careful if you're going to try to use one of those for something else. For example, you can see the Gul'dan one like this, where now all it does is just show you the duration and shows you now the amount of shielding, or it's technically not a shield, but you get the point. Because if that wasn't formatted, that's 4.5 million. That would be a lot more numbers to show right there. And with the Gul'dan one, it does show the amount of backlash, which is after the buff and shielding version, you now take increased damage. And then other than that, it's pretty much the same stuff, where you go into active buffs, it shows your Gory Fur, your stacks of Earth Warden, Bristling Fur, Pulverize if you're using it, all your externals. Your general CDs, same, it's, same as normal. Just the general stuff you'll need to know. Not always need to be using it, but knowing the cooldown's important. And here your general, basically what you're always using. Your Mangle. This doesn't show the cooldown of Thrash. This little bar shows the cooldown of your Thrash. This, the actual big aura of it shows the dot, and then just the small bar is the cooldown. Iron Fur shows the stacks. Mark of Arsal shows the timer. Frenzied Regen shows the cooldown and stacks. Like I said, this bar is just the Guardian cooldowns. And then in here you don't just have the trinkets, but you also have the artifact abilities. This just shows your Prowl cooldown a little bit over here. Darkened Soul is for the Thavius trinket. It shows the percent that if your current target has the debuff, the percent will show like how much less damage they're doing to you. It doesn't show the stacks, and it just shows the timer. And then the GCD bar, and this is actually, this I will not take credit for. I took this from Sloopbag in his UI. This just is to display how much healing the next Frenzied Regen you cast is supposed to do, based on the damage you've been intaking. Other than that, everything's pretty simple and straightforward. Again, I'll share the Elvui code as well, which is pretty easy to import now. That's about it. If you like the UI, all the strings and everything, I'm going to be linking in the description. You can get basically every group from there. I'm still working on making some other videos for the other tunes. I have to fix up Warriors UI a little bit before I want to make any kind of video for that. But I have most of it done. It's a little bit cleaner than it was before. It's much closely resembles this UI and the Paladins. Whereas before it kind of was in its own style. I'm trying to like normalize all my tanks UIs across the board, make them all basically exactly the same, positionally and everything. And also Demon Hunter, I pretty much have done. I just want to make some changes to it. I also want to try some different talents on it and make sure I can put those into the UI and make some WeakAuras for them for the different builds that there are. Because I've basically been running the same single build on my Demon Hunter so far. So Demon Hunter and Warrior definitely soon. I don't know if anyone has seen my old Hunter's UI, but I don't think that's going to be coming soon. I haven't really been playing my Hunter at all. Hasn't been as fun to me, and I've just been focusing a lot more on tanks. They've been a lot more fun for me to play so far this expansion, with all the Mythic Plus stuff to do. But yeah, Warrior, Demon Hunter are definitely next. In terms of future tank, Monk is probably my next to level, and DK would probably come after that. Future class outside of tank, Priest is probably my highest wanted. Priest, Rogue, even Havoc Demon Hunter. Havoc Demon Hunter might be up there, just because I already have the 110, and I kind of want to try that, but probably not anytime soonish. I kind of want to just play tanks right now. Thanks for watching. If you want the other UIs, I would suggest subscribing, just following the channel. I'll try to make them soonish. No promises though. Thanks.